Well, on the heels of his release of his tell-all autobiography, Prince Harry is saying the material he left out would be too much for the royal family to handle. In an interview with the Daily Telegraph, Harry claims he had enough material for 2 books and did not include some things because his father and brother would never forgive him. Harry also saying he wanted an apology to Meghan from his family members. For more, I want to bring in CTV Royal commentator Afua Hagan, who joins us from London. Good to speak to you this morning.
Good morning.
All right, so we've been talking about this all week. I have read most of the book. I think I'm at chapter 44. I want to get, what are your takeaways from this memoir?
Well, yeah, what a week it has been. I finished the book. I finished it on Tuesday night. And my takeaway really is, and I've said this before, it is about getting everything in context. So a lot of the headlines have been extrapolated for their shock value and put out there to make people want to or not want to read the book. But I think the main takeaway is that everything has to be read in context. One of the most controversial passages from the book has to be about the number of people that Prince Harry killed while on active duty in Afghanistan. And that's 25. And a lot of people have said, look, it's putting a target on his back and his family's back to boast about it in this way. But in fact, when Harry is talking about his experiences in the theatre of war, it's not a boast. He's stating fact. And that's something that a lot of servicemen and women do as part of their recovery. He talks very movingly about suffering from post-traumatic stress after the death of his mother, and of course, after being on active duty in Afghanistan. There's lots of funny bits in the book as well, lots of controversial bits talking about drug taking, and of course, that rift between himself and his brother, Prince William, the Prince of Wales. Some of that is detailed, perhaps not everything, and now we know, thanks to this interview with Bryony Gordon of The Telegraph, based here in London, that in fact he had probably 800 pages worth, but some of that he couldn't put into the book because he said his father and his brother would never forgive him, and one has to wonder what was in those pages.
Yeah, and I'm so glad. I agree with everything that you just said, and now to know that he did leave 800 pages worth of stuff out of the book, do you think that maybe in the future he might release that, or do you think he's just really going to stay away from it? Because even to say it, even to tease that he could have put more stuff in there is quite salacious.
That's a really good question. Look, there's a few things at play here. First of all, we have the paperback to come. And we know that sometimes when a paperback comes out, there is amendments and sometimes there is additions. I don't think it will go into the paperback. We also know that he has a 4-book deal with Penguin. So perhaps there might be another book about this kind of stuff. There might be another memoir. However, when Prince Harry sat down with Tom Bradby of ITV last week on Sunday, he said that this is the last of the Look Back projects. So the Look Back projects were the Netflix documentary in 6 parts and Spare. And then he said that everything else is going to be looking forward. It's going to be about the next part of their lives and what they do next. So perhaps those pages that we didn't get in Spare are, for want of a better word, going to be spare. They're going to be left on the cutting room floor, and everything else will be unique projects and look forward projects.
Interesting. And you know what? A thought just popped into my head. He has mentioned to the public that he has 800 pages that he could have put in, but he didn't want to because he doesn't want to upset his family. But maybe he's perhaps saying that just to let them know that if they plan on retaliating in any way, he might go there and tell the rest of those stories. That's just something that popped into my head. But do you think that the relationship, because this is the big question, the relationship between Harry, his father, and his brother will ever be mended?
That's a very good point that you made there, actually. He could be, storing up his arsenal and letting people know that, I can fire back if I want to. Look, this relationship can be repaired. I don't know if a reconciliation is on the card this week, this month, or even this year, but I do think that it will come to a reconciliation. That will happen. I definitely think that it will take time. We are on the eve of the coronation of King Charles III. That is in the coming months. And, that's a major thing in the royal family. I think that Harry and Meghan will be there. It will be petty of King Charles III to not invite them. So I think an invite will be extended. Whether they choose to take it up or not is up to them and remains to be seen. But even if they are there, I don't think that means that a reconciliation has happened or will happen in the space of those few days where they may be in the United Kingdom. But I think it can happen, but I think it's a long time coming.
Yeah, hopefully King Charles will take the time to listen or read this book, because then he might open his eyes and see it's not that disaster, that his son, in fact, really loves him. But thank you so much for taking the time to discuss this book. We've been talking about it all week. Thanks again, Afua Hagan, CTV Royal commentator.
Thank you.